Well. Good morning or good afternoon, good lunchtime, West Ham fans, Russ, the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. Happy Monday, my friends. Another week is upon us, but the transfer window has reopened. Confetti cannons and everything. There we go. And for anyone new to the channel, I had a lot of new subscribers recently. What we tend to do is every couple of times a week do what we call a Russy Rumour roundup with the original rumour rating, and talk about some players who we've been linked with over the last 24, 48 hours. So the idea is we aggregate all that. So you don't have to, basically. So you don't have to go through it. We scour all the ITK pages and gossip pages and fan sites and journalists to try and, comprise a compendium of players that we've been. And it is a compendium, and I'll show you the full list. The list that we've been keeping a check on later on. And it is vast. So let's get into it and talk about some players. So we're going to talk about a couple of Norwich City players, and we're going to do them sort of kind of together and then talk about them separately. But according to some news outlets, Norwich City's free scoring forward duo of Josh Sargent and Borja Sands are both under consideration at London Stadium. Sargent and Sands both scored 33, or combined, not both, combined 33 goals, championship goals last season, and the latter missing out on the Golden Boot to frontman 𝙏𝙍𝘼𝙉𝙎𝙃, who will be seeing in the Premier League next year, I'd imagine. Since the summer 2018, Norwich have sold 6 players for 8-figure sums. James Madison, Bonwada, Jonathan Rowe, Ben Godfrey, Gabriel Sara, and Andrew Omabiade-Daly. No idea. Now, sporting director has insisted, Ben Knapper, that Porto have they've already rejected a bid from Porto of £13 million for Sands. The Canaries will not be letting any of Liam Manning's current squad leave on the cheap, with Sargent likely to be subject to many approaches himself over the coming weeks. According to reports, they are valued at a combined rate of £35 million for the both. So for Jonathan Sargent and for... Where's Signs gone? He's disappeared. Let me bring him up. Where's Signs gone? Signs has disappeared. He's only a small lad. There we go. And Signs, they are a combined £35 million, apparently. As I said, the former has been linked with Napoli, Atletico Bilbao, and also Porto, as we've said. For me, if we look at them separately, which we will do, Jonathan Sargent, not one for me. Yes, he's a US international. He does I'd say tend to have a knack of scoring goals, but what's that? 1 in 3, just worse than 1 in 3. Don't think we want. I think we either want someone a little bit younger who can develop, or someone who's in their pomp now. And I think we're unlikely to buy someone in their pomp now. So younger players. We'll talk about younger one later. So I'm going to put a Lamar for him because no, it's not 30%. Not Lamar. What's the man doing? This summer, this heat has frazzled my brain. But I don't think 30% chance. In terms of Sands, now he's an interesting player. He operates mainly on the sort of the Kudus position, and I think if we are looking at selling Kudus, which obviously we are 99% sure, apparently, according to one report, then for me, it would, he wouldn't be a bad player to come in. He would obviously cost probably a third of what we'll get for Kudus, maybe even a quarter of what we get Kudus. We've also got obviously someone like 𝙏𝙍𝘼𝙉𝙎𝙃 as well, who could play in that position, but obviously very quite young to that. He ain't got a bad return rate in terms of goals to games, for a winger as such. But he's sort of right-footed, inverted winger, cuts in. Check out his sheet. He does score some fucking impressive goals, I'll be honest, particularly last season for Norwich. So I think it's slightly more for him. So for Sands, I think I'm going to put 60%. 6 out of 10 of Russy Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating. Let's go to Turkey, and a player we've been linked with on and off for a while, Bright Osayi-Samuel from Fenerbahce, 27-year-old former QPR man. According to reports, West Ham are long-time admirers of him, and pre-Potter, Moyes time, I think in Pellegrini time we were interested in him as well. He's always been someone we kept an eye on. But he is the 22-timed Nigerian international is set to become a free agent. Ding, 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 ding. Everyone's interest perks up now in 2 weeks' time. And he could be the man to kick off the summer window at the club. Particularly with a reluctance to spend big money until we've got a few players off their books. He spent 4 years in Turkey. Besiktas are also interested in keeping him in Turkey, as their president explained. But, Fenerbahce and Besiktas, and there's obviously a rivalry there. His wage demands are probably likely to go beyond what the Besiktas managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, actually, his outfit will be able to do. So that opens up the possibility to probably move to the Premier League. Now, for me, as a free signing, ain't bad. And I need to check something. I need to check whether Nigeria are in the AFCONs this year. They must have qualified for the AFCONs. 2026? And they must have. They must have qualified. Yes, they have. Okay. They've qualified. So we might have a situation in sort of the Christmas period going into January where, someone like a Wan-Bissaka could well be playing for Congo. And so, bringing in someone who could cover that as well. But Bright most likely will be in that squad as well. So, yeah. Free transfer, yeah, but I still think for me, Kyle Walker-Peters is more and more, for me, becoming the ideal free transfer to cover the left-hand side and the right-hand side and cover Wan-Bissaka if he's selected for Congo in the Africa Cup of Nations. But anyway, a swashbuckling right back / winger / right wing back, Lamar, 50-50 for Bright. Great name as well. Let's talk Yuri Alberto, shall we? Now, it's been quite funny. According to journalist Sebastian Vidal, West Ham have agreed personal terms with the Corinthian striker. And this was confirmed by his agent a couple of months ago. The Hammers, Wolves and Real Betis were named as clubs who had submitted an offer for the Corinthians and Brazilian forward. The Times journalist claimed in April that a deal had been agreed in principle between West Ham and Alberto over a summer move. 24-year-old has over 110 career goals to his name. Well, 110 career. He's also been linked with West Ham every window since 2023, 2022, something like that. When they revealed they had rejected a bid of £15 million for their talisman. Now Vidal has taken to social media to state that West Ham have agreed personal terms with Alberto. However, there is a slight fly in the ointment with this, and that is the fact that he has fractured his lumbar spine fracture, which could range from a few months to 6 months, depending on the severity of the fracture. And that means this isn't going to happen. Athletes can expect maybe a month sort of period, and even if he recovers at the lower end of the scale, it would be a huge risk for West Ham. We've already got an injured player as a striker. We don't need another one. So 30%, maybe 20% even. Maybe comes around in December, January time, possibly. I mean, he only be 24, 25. And then see how he recovers from that, potentially. Who knows? Let's talk about someone who I think is a real possibility of coming in, and that is Adama Bojang, 1-year-old Gambian international striker. Now, he previously caught the eye of the likes of City, United, and Chelsea back in 23, 24, before he joined Stade Rennes. It's understood that Chelsea were willing to pay up to £1 million for his signature in a deal that was seen him land at Strasbourg with Blueco, but didn't want to basically bid any higher, not unfortunately, but unusually. And Rem eventually wrapped up an agreement worth in the region of around £3 million. He spent last season on loan at Grasshoppers in Switzerland, where he struck 6 goals and 2 assists in 27 appearances. In April, he struck a hat-trick against 𝙏𝙍𝘼𝙉𝙎𝙁𝙀 and also a brace against FC Lausanne Sports in February. He's a Gambian under-20 international, and he's widely regarded as one of the best African talents of his generation, and has been courted by the likes of RB Leipzig, Eintracht Frankfurt, and Hoffenheim before sealing his move to France 2 years ago. Now, Stade Rem, obviously under Will still were doing well, but obviously Will moved on, and then now he's at Southampton now. They've actually just been relegated to Ligue 2. Which means they have no choice but to reluctantly listen to offers for the player in the bid to raise funds. Earlier this week, West Ham have been tracking the player, held talks apparently over a move, and according to sources, he's expected to be available for around £10 million. The 21-year-old 6-foot striker, what's he got? Better than 1 in 3. And for me, this is the type. This ticks a lot of boxes in terms of the MO of West Ham currently, in terms of the players we've been linked with. Young, sell on value. I mean, there's no doubt if you bought him for £10 million, if all else fails, you could probably sell him for at least £10 million back because you're from a Premier League side. I don't think you'll lose money on him. Famous last words. There's a risk, of course, but he's young enough to be adaptable. There's young enough to learn different ways. I mean, you've seen that to some extent with Luis Guilherme. He obviously hasn't played that much, but when he does play, he's always impressed. He's always seen him on the front foot. He's always seemed to be a tricky player and sort of adjusting to that sort of demands of Premier League football. So I think there's a real possibility this one could happen. So much so, Russy B has given... Sorry, I'm rubbing my eye. Really bad hay fever. Next few days. Russ giving it a 70%, 7 out of 10. Russ Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating. Now let's talk Dominic Calvert-Lewin, shall we? I remember reporting about him last year, and we were looking at about £35 million or something like that. Where he was offered to us. So I can't remember exactly. Right now, what we're led to be believed is, to some extent, which I don't think is true, but there has been rumblings that he's rejected the offer at Goodison Park, and there is a claim that West Ham are prepared to better his current £100,000 a week salary. Now, for me, this is a bit of a non-starter. I can't see this one happening in the same way that what I've just said with Yuri Alberto, what I've said with Callum Wilson. We've already got Nicholas Füllkrug, who last year was injured for a lot of time, and I would hope this year he has a better injury record, but still there's going to be some time where just in his age he's going to be tired, or he's 32, 33 now, so there will be that sort of period of downtime. We don't need another one like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. DCL's not a bad player when he scored a lot of goals when he's been on the pitch. I think he had a couple of 20 goal seasons in the Premier League. The only slight, not possibility, but you've got to think with someone like Mickey, if Mickey doesn't sign the new deal, which looks like he doesn't, could he be a replacement for Mickey? Not going to be a starter, but he's going to be someone on the bench with a bit of experience. But the trouble is, you're paying over £100,000 a week for him, and ignore me. I was working it through myself. Not going to happen. Well, I don't want it to happen. Will it happen though? That's the question. We know it ticks a lot of boxes in terms of a Sully special, doesn't it? I'm going to put 40%, maybe 30%. Although I don't think it'll be a great signing for us. I think there are certain players who are proverbially injury prone. DCL is one of those. Same as as I said, a Callum Wilson, players like that. Once they get that type of injury, it tends to be a recurrence. When he's on the pitch, he's a good player, and his link up play and stuff would complement what we're trying to do. But he won't be on the pitch long enough for me. Anyway, you've asked it. Here's the list. 122 players. Look how small I've had to make the font. And actually, some of these I probably need to go through and strike them off the list. People like, obviously, Joe Bellingham and Liam Delap. And I need to go through and just, there'll be no doubt some players there who are, it's keeping on top of the list more than anything. So I need to go through all that. But that's what we're up to now. The transfer window just open again, or reopened today. So, yeah, plenty there to be getting your teeth sunk into. And no doubt that list is going to... I've already had to make it so small already just to get everyone on there, just to build in some flex so I can add to the list later on. But there we go, my friends. Thank you. Oh, wrong button. There we go. There we go, my friends. Thank you very much for your time, as per usual. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll have Heaven's headlines later on, and we'll show, we'll announce the Mark Noble signed shirt new raffle we'll do. So all good in the hood. So take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye-bye, motherfuckers.